Welcome back to another episode of High Above Courtside. I'm Anthony, that's Steve, and we got some breaking news.
Let's go.
The Boston Celtics have been sold to Bill Chisholm for a record $6.1 billion. Steve, let's get some instant reactions on the sale.
Originally, when I saw this, I saw private equity. I kind of recoiled a bit because usually private equity, when it takes over something, it just guts it, tries to get as much profit, much revenue in the door, lowest costs, and that's not really what you want to see when you have a team coming up on between payroll and luxury taxes, $500 million, most ever in NBA. So you didn't want to see that. But as the story starts to develop, you start to read a little bit more. Specifically, M. Himmelsbach had like a great little article on the Globe. And you realize North Shore guy, shout out North Shore, Georgetown. That's great to see.
Oh, he's from Georgetown? I didn't even know that. Love that.
Yeah, he's from Georgetown. Went to Dartmouth, New Hampshire. His kids went there. He told some story. He went to the old Boston guy when he was 7. And like he remembers listening to Johnny Most, our name for our podcast. And just like really falling in love. So he said it's been like a 50-year thing of just like becoming a green teamer, becoming a fan, just really loving everything that the Celtics stand for. So I'm all about it. He describes himself, I have this here, encyclopedic knowledge of the team, a true green teamer. What else? He had some like funny ass quotes in here. He's a diehard Celtics fan. Oh, this one was great. So growing up in the North Shore and attending college in New England, I have been a diehard Celtics fan my entire life, said Chisholm. I understand how important the Celtics are to the city of Boston. The role the team plays in the community is different than any other city in the country. I also understand that there is a responsibility as a leader of the organization to the people of Boston, and I am up for this challenge. I fucking love that. That's everything you want to like hear from a guy who's taking over potentially if the governors of the team governors all approve it and the NBA approves it. I'm a little sad though because I was a big Pags guy. I like the continuity. He's already part of the team. He's already hoisted that Lombardi twice for us over his tenure here with Wick. And then he had like a little excerpt, like post on Twitter about, we also provided a record-setting bid for the team. Wish, we would have got chosen. But this line right here kind of stood out to me. Team steeped in championship tradition. Additionally, I recruited new partners with deep resources and expertise in technology and international markets to maximize the Celtics' success to ensure we can always compete for championships. Luxury taxes be damned. Hey, Pags did not hear the bell. If this doesn't go through with the Board of Governors, then he's coming back. So it's kind of sad, but everything that the guy's saying, how he wants, he's already met with Brad a couple times. He's about to meet with Joe. Him and Brad have had lengthy conversations along with Wick, keeping Wick on board like he requested until 2028. It doesn't seem like he's going to be shaking it up too much. Rule number 1 about being an owner for the Celtics, let Brad cook.
Yeah.
Rule number 2, keep the Jays.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everything you said, I'm pretty much on board with. Initial reaction was private equity sucks. They ruin everything. CVS comes to the top of my mind. Used to love CVS. Place stinks now. But this guy, but the more I've read about it, I guess Wick and Steve Pagliuca both made their money from private equity as well. Mm-hmm. So it made me feel a little bit better about it, I guess. From Massachusetts, North Shore guy, Middlesex County guys on this pod. So, we're neighbors. We're cool with him. We like that. It's gotten to the point in the NBA and NBA, NFL especially, that you can't buy a team unless you're one of these private equity hedge fund type guys, or you're like I don't even know if it's legal for the Saudi billionaires to buy teams.
You have to have like a certain cap percentage of like how much they own. So yeah.
Right. So like, I mean, 6.1 billion record for a North American sports team. Like, this is it's stupid money. The days of a local businessman from your city investing in your team and buying it, it's over. These teams aren't 360 million, which is what Wick bought it for, whatever, 25 years ago. Pretty good return on investment, not gonna lie. Happy for Wick and his dad especially.
Yeah.
But so like, yeah, like it could be bad, it could be good, I don't know, but I think every team's going to be owned by one of these private equity type companies or one of these hedge fund type deals within the next 10-20 years. So you can't really, complain about that too much. It's the way the world's going now.
Yeah.
Love everything he's saying. Love that he's a huge fan. I mean, it's obviously going to be one of those things where you got to let it play out a little bit to see if he puts his money where his mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
I think that buying it this season, I think it's actually a tough time for him. He's going to catch a lot of hate this offseason because I think no matter what, if ownership stayed the same, the way the CBA is set up now is there was no way they were keeping this roster together for another year after this one. I mean, or it would be extremely hard, and it would be, you're paying a ton of luxury tax, you're losing draft capital, you can't sign you lose the mid-level exception, all that stuff. The rules are set up against that. So I think it was always leaning that the Celtics were going to lose one of their big four, big five guys. So, like, I'm not so much looking at this summer and saying, oh, if Drew or KP or someone gets traded away or not, I'm going to kind of hold off on criticism for the time being. We're going to have to give it a few years, but I like to think that you don't invest $6 billion into a team that you just want to, gut and sell for parts. So, I'm holding out hope that that old Uncle Bill Chisholm works out for the
Billy
the
the
boys.
Kid, Willie Beeman over here. Shams had some good quotes from him via his article. Bill says the team is in a great place right now, and I'm very sensitive to that. Wick, Brad Stevens, and Joe Mazzulla have done amazing jobs. My approach is to win and raise banners. That's in the near term and the long term. I agreed. I love the Celtics. When opportunity came up, I couldn't pass it up. Wick has done an incredible job. Why would I want to mess that up? A couple sit downs with Brad. It's been about aligning our goals and extending the window of this team. I mean, he's knocking all the checkbox, dude.
Yeah, he's saying the right thing for sure. And keeping Wick around definitely makes me feel a lot better about it too. So yeah, I mean, initial reaction, he's saying the right things. He's comes from the right background, other than the fact that he's a private equity guy. But I guess Wick and Pags were too. So let's see what happens. Let's see if he invests the right way. And I mean, as long as it's not a Mariam Adelson situation in Dallas and they're trading away, Tatum in a year, like I'm gonna give the guy 4 or 5 years before I start calling him cheap or really.
Or an Ishbia situation in Phoenix where they're just like, let me get Kevin Durant, let me get Bradley
Beal. That guy's
Beal.
just a dummy, right?
So I'm hoping $2 hot dogs, which is dope.
Yeah, that's cool. But, the biggest thing for me is just like you said in the beginning, let Brad run the team. I don't know if he made a wrong move in the 4 years that he's been running the front office. I want my owners to stay out of basketball operations. Sign the checks. You want to build a new stadium? Fine. Construction guy over here. I'm all for building. I'm cool with it. Like, let's bring put guys to work in the city. I'm fine with it. Don't move too far. Don't pull a Kraft. We don't need you down in Foxborough or something. But
So let's go into that a little bit. Do you think, because the Celtics signed a 12-year extension lease to be in the Garden. What's that, through 2037, 38? So where do you think, like, I was looking at Google Maps today, like, where are they going to fit a fucking new arena that's close to transit, it has parking, any of those things? And I just can't really fucking find a place. Like, I don't know where it would be. Where would you suggest?
Well, first of all, the lease thing, a little bit of money gets you out of that lease, so that doesn't really mean anything. I've said this a while ago to you. I find it hard to believe that you would buy a team for $6 million and then continue to pay rent to a guy that's not as rich as you and Jeremy Jacobs and the Bruins. Like, why? I don't know why they wouldn't. I mean, it doesn't make that much sense unless the city just won't let them build a new
That's
stadium.
what I was worrying. Yeah.
Which, I mean, but then they could just go to a town, you know, we right outside, you know, greater Boston area and build it anywhere. But to answer your question, the place that I think they could build a stadium is your old stomping grounds, Suffolk Downs. Come over to East Boston. There's plenty of land over there. Suffolk Downs is just sitting there. For any of you who don't know, Suffolk Downs is an old horse track in East Boston, and it's got the blue line. It's got a ton of land, and
a lot of parking.
Horse racing and dog racing is illegal now, so it sits there empty, and dudes drink and bet on like foreign horse racing and you know, sitting in the concourse. So that to me is a place that makes sense. It's close to the city. It has the T access.
I just didn't know if they were redeveloping that area, but if that's still available, then that's like prime spot because you can't put it in Everett. You can't.
No. I mean, and they are
redeveloping
a little bit, but there's still a ton of land over there. There's still all of the Suffolk Downs like itself where you could build a basketball stadium there. So I mean, that's to me.
I'd be cool with that.
Obvious. I would be cool with that. Not just because
anything outside of that.
But honestly, because it's close to the city. It does have T access. It's not you know, it's not Foxborough or somewhere, you know, way out in no man's land that we got to drive to. So that's the biggest thing for me. If you're gonna move them, fine. Don't move them far, and make sure there's, you know, public transit access.
Yeah. Another interesting wrinkle of this, because it's being bought in stages, that by the time 2028 comes around, there's going to be appreciation in this. So the sale might end up being like north of $7 billion overall after you're done with everything.
It was probably going to be like 7.4 billion or something like that at the end of all said and done, which is just absolutely wild. I mean, for all the NBA is dying, folks, I'm not sure why a smart businessman, if the NBA is dying, would buy a team for $6.1 billion. But hey, what do I know? Maybe all that the ratings talk was a little far-fetched and dumb, to be honest.
Yeah, TV deal is going to be huge.
Right. So, you got anything else to add on Uncle Bill?
I don't think there's anything else to add. I think we should jump into a little Schadenfreude and dump on our fellow Eastern Conference teams.
Right, I agree. So we got to get into some of the other teams in the East a little bit. The one being, and just over the next few weeks, Celtics got a West Coast trip coming up. I think they play one or two more teams over 500 or in the playoff race the rest of the season. So there's not a ton. They're pretty much locked into that 2 seed. There's not a ton of interesting matchups to talk about over the next month or so for the playoffs. So we will try to jump into some individual teams, contenders, Eastern Conference foes, and whatnot. And we'll start off with the old Milwaukee Bucks, who, mind you, 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, summer of 23, I guess, were crowned as an unstoppable force in the NBA when they traded for Damian Lillard. You know, we all remember that summer, Giannis and Dame, and how can anyone stop this? And the Stephen A's and the Kendrick Perkins of the world, and this two-man game. This two-man game is unstoppable. I mean, I forgot. I didn't realize that we were watching a 2-on-2 league. You know, they'd probably be great if that was. You know, we had a 3-on-3 tournament, and the Bucks might be all right in that. But
you could enter them into the rivals.
Milwaukee at 38-30 this year. They're 2-5 in their last 7 games. That's with losses to Golden State the other night, who I know Steph didn't play. I think Butler played, but Steph was out. They lost to the Thunder, who didn't play anybody. They lost to the Pacers. They got smoked by the Cavs, lost to the Magic. And Doc Rivers had a team meeting with Giannis and Dame. This is a year and a half into this. They haven't been together for 2 months. It's not like they traded for him at the trade deadline. We're having coaches meetings in March after going 2-5 over a 7-game stretch when you're fighting for home court advantage. I mean, there's just not near enough hate for me for what's going on in Milwaukee. You know, they were crowned far too early, and there's not enough, backlash for what's going on there. It's a 5-on-5 league, and the roster outside of Giannis and Dame, quite frankly, stinks, and it's old, and you know. I don't know how much Dame wants to be there or wants to even keep playing, but it's a bad situation if you're a Bucks fan.
Yeah, I mean, 5-5 in the last 10. They are under 500 in road. As a road team, they're a half a game back from 6. They're a game to get to the 4th seed. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, they could be in the 6th seed. They could be in the 4th seed. They're going to be hovering around 4-6, depending on if New York falls, the Knicks. I don't know, dude. They're ass. They've been ass. They have flashes when it looks good. That pick and roll tandem should be amazing. It's not. Giannis is doing everything he can, but also really injury prone. Hasn't been playing in the playoffs recently. So can you rely on him? Dame looks great when he's on. If he's not, he's kind of non-existent and he's a weak point on defense. They need more hate.
7.
He's a brontosaurus out there.
Yeah, it's tough. And I'm not like Giannis is Giannis, and he's awesome, and he's doing what he can, but he's in, like you said, he's in his early 30s now. If we want to rank players, eventually you have to health. It has to be one of the number one things. I'm sorry, the man, the past 2 seasons hasn't been out there, and he's big and like for a guy that relies pretty much solely on athleticism. Like, let's be honest, Giannis, he's not going to age well when he's 38. He can't shoot. He's not one of these super skilled guys outside of just being the most athletically dominant player in the league, which is fine. He's an all-time great, and I respect him. And I'm still, if I'm the Knicks, I don't want the Bucks in the first round. I'd want the Pistons a lot more than that. I don't want to see Giannis in the first round, but it has to factor into, when some of these shows are ranking these players. If he can't stay healthy for a season and he can't be on the court for any extended period of time in the last 2 years, he's hardly played in the playoffs. I mean, that has to factor in. And a colossal, like that whole Dame trade was backfired completely.
Yeah, but here's some stats for you. Points per game, they're 14th at 114.5. Their field goal percentage is 6th at 48. Obviously, they take, a lot of closer ones with Giannis and everything. But surprisingly, they're 2nd in 3-point field goal percentage, which is pretty interesting. And that's, again, they're 2nd in 3-point field goal percentage, only 8 games over 500. There's just a lot to be desired there. They're 13th in defense. I mean, it's not really looking good over there. They turn the ball over a decent amount. They don't have any assists barely. They're ranked 23rd. It's kind of tough over there.
Right, and Dame's 6 feet tall, and he never really wanted to be there in the first place. And Dame, how old's Dame now? He's got to be 34, mid to young 30s at least. and
34.
Right, and I've always had the belief that a 6-foot point guard, when they age, it's just not where they don't age well.
We know better than any other team.
Yeah, we know Isaiah Thomas, Kemba, all these guys. It's like once they lose a step, it's over. And that's not to say Dame can't get 40 on you in any given night. It's just I don't think Dame can get 40 on you throughout a series or throughout multiple series to, get you to the finals, which is what ultimately they traded for him for. They traded for him to win a championship, not to be the 4th seed. They could have done that with Drew Holiday. Giannis is essentially a top 4 seed. Just having him on your roster. So, it's tough and they're in a tough spot where do you go if you're the Bucks from here? Outside of trading Giannis, they don't really have any movable pieces.
Do you think Bobby Portis being suspended has, kind of made them tread water a little bit instead of advancing a bit?
I guess so. But I'm not a Bobby Portis fan. I think he's awful on defense. He can score for you, but he's terrible defensively. And
I'm just trying to look. Like Gary Trent Jr. is not that good. 10.6 points, that's fine.
Traded for Kyle Kuzma.
Kevin Porter. Kyle Kuzma is trash, dude. I just hate watching him play basketball. It's like doesn't make sense.
Right, and the state of the team, like Kevin Porter Jr. is now an important guy off the bench for them, and I'm sorry, he's not a winning player. Like, you cannot play that guy in the playoffs. He plays zero defense. He's worse than Dame on defense, and he's a shot chucker. Like, can he get hot once in a while? Sure, but that's just not a guy who is going to contribute to a championship.
For the season, he's sub 30% from the 3-point line.
Kevin Porter is?
Yeah.
Not surprised. And Kyle Kuzma, I don't hate Kyle Kuzma. I think he can be a half decent role player, but I think his contract is too much for the type of player that he is now. And it's just if I'm a Milwaukee fan, I'm a bit worried about what's the next move, because it's only a matter of time. Let's play this out. In Milwaukee, let's say Milwaukee's a 6 seed and they lose to the Knicks in the first round, or they lose to Indiana in the first round. Does Giannis want to be there anymore?
Didn't he just sign an extension though?
Right, but it's the NBA. He can just start grumbling and I want out, and because if you're Milwaukee, if you just let him run out his contract and you lose him for nothing, Dame's at what are you getting back for Dame now with that contract and that at that age? Brook Lopez is 37. You're not getting much for him. Other than that, they literally don't have any other tradable assets. I don't know what their pick situation is, but I'm not sure it's good after the Dame trade. I'm sure they gave a lot of those up for him.
Yeah, it's not looking good for them, especially with Detroit on the rise. Indy's still really, really competitive. They play so hard. New York's, doing well. We'll see how they fare with Brunson, sidelined for a bit. But their future does not look bright. They're going to be hanging. Orlando might pass them if they get some offense. If things don't go well for them, they're more playing team than a 4 seed in the future.
Right. They're Giannis, missing half a season away from being an 8 seed, and that's and 3 years. 3 years ago, Giannis taking the Celtics to 7 games without Chris Middleton. You would not have thought that. And after the Dame trade, it was like, who's beating this team? This team's winning 60 games for multiple seasons. How are you going to slow down this offense? And quite frankly, it just hasn't worked. From the jump, you fire your coach that, was
decent.
18 games over 500. I think he was like 31-13. They fired his ass. Like, to bring in Doc Rivers, a retread that, I'm sorry, won a championship here, but has been a colossal failure everywhere else he's gone.
Yeah.
So it just shows how quickly it can unravel in the NBA. It's such guys move around. Rosters change so much in the NBA that you could be at the top, and 2 years later, it just seems like it could be over at any moment.
Yeah. Speaking of a little sliding, should we do a little bit on the Cavs losing 3 straight?
Thought you'd never ask. Cavs lost 3 in a row. Cavs lost 3 in a row. I think the Cavs are still great, but there's some kinks in the armor showing up, I'd say. They lost to Orlando the other day, that team can't score. Not sure how.
They lost to Orlando 108-103, lost to the Clippers 132-119, and lost to Sacramento 123-119. This is their third game losing streak. The other one happened in January. They lost to Houston, Philly, and Houston again. So Celtics have not done that since, I don't know, fucking years ago. 2021 or something like that, besides the playoffs when we went down a little bit there to the Heat. We almost had that amazing comeback. But again, I don't think Mitchell was playing like that, but like that team is so deep, they should be beating the teams that they're facing.
And the thing about the Cavs is that, they're reliant on their 3-point shooting, and they've been the best 3-point shooting team in the league this year. They were 10 of 40 against Orlando. They were 14 of 41 versus the Clippers. And then what were they last night against
13 of 34. So that was decent shooting.
Not awful, but and they've mostly, they didn't have Garland last night, but they've mostly had their guys there. So it's like another one of these teams that, just the same way that people will complain about the Celtics, if the 3 doesn't fall. Well, if the 3 doesn't fall for the Celtics, they have 2 proven guys who can get into the lane, score in the paint, score different ways. They're an elite defensive team. Cleveland good defensively, but not as elite as the Bostons of the world. And if that 3 ball stops falling, then
Hold on. I'm looking at Mitchell's splits right now. Last 20 games, just his 3-point percentage. His shooting splits overall: 45% from the field, 32.4 the last 20 games. Last 10 games, sub 40% from the field, 26.5% from three. Last 5 games, 33% from the field, 16.7 from three. And last 3 games, 34.9% from the field, 20.7 from three. Interesting splits there. I didn't realize he was a little cold.
I didn't realize he could ever get cold as a Celtics fan. So kind of shocked to hear that. Didn't think Donovan Mitchell could shoot 1 for 6 from three, but hey. So, I mean, I think the Cavs are still – I still think the Cavs can win the title for sure. I just think that they have kinks in the armor. They're not as infallible as – like, I don't think they're the Thunder, and I don't think they're the Celtics. I think those are the two favorites, just as an overall offense, defense, top-tier talent type teams. I think they're just a little bit more reliant on shooting the shit out of the ball. And they do have unbelievable shooters, but, like, we know how those things go in the playoffs where, does DeAndre Hunter keep shooting 45% from three through the playoffs? Probably not. He's a good shooter, but
he's been on a tear.
We've seen Max, but the last 3 games, he hasn't.
Yeah.
8 points last night on 3 of 8 in 31 minutes. Like Ty Jerome, good player, good regular season player. What's it look like in April, May, June? You know what I mean? Dean Wade, Max Strus. We've seen Max Strus have unbelievable playoff runs. We've seen him do nothing in the playoffs. So it's like some of these guys, they got to prove it to me. Even Evan Mobley, who shot the 3 well, he has to continue to shoot it well in the playoffs, or they have no chance of getting by the Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, overall, their offense is just an absolute machine. So, yeah, if you, like you said, there's a little kink in the armor. If those shots aren't falling, can they beat you on the margins? They're first in points per game. They're second in field goal percentage. They're first in 3-point field goal percentage. They're, 12.5 turnovers a game. That's like nothing. That's 5th ranked. So, like, they're really good on offense. Their defense is, just as good. Opponent field goal percentage against them is 5th. Opponent's points per game is 11th at 112. They're solid, but like you said, sometimes you get a little tight in the playoffs and it may not go your way, and then maybe another team's really humming, and that could really be the difference. It's a make or miss league, as we always say on this podcast.
Yeah, right. I mean, we've seen it too many times with the Celtics. Before you get over that hump, it's tough to, the butt cheeks get tight in these tight moments, and it's can you overcome? Are you going to be, can Donovan Mitchell have that Tatum game 6 moment, like against Milwaukee, come into Boston in a down 3-2 and score 45 points? I think he can, because he always kills us, but it still remains, those questions are out there. And even if he does something like that, do the role players still do that? Does Darius Garland have an off series? Can Mobley continue shooting the ball the way he's shooting it? Remains to be seen.
It does.
So I think that's probably where we'll wrap up on this one. And coming up, we'll go through some more teams in the East and just do some miscellaneous player rankings or something like that.
Yeah, hover over to the West as well. It's real busy over there, so it'll be nice to see, especially with some certain teams that are surging. The craziest thing, though, is Houston holding on to the 2nd seed. I love that for them. Good for them.
Yeah, true. I'd like to see the Warriors keep losing so they can play the Thunder in the first round, but remains to be seen. And we'll see what happens, and maybe they're going to lose streak, and we can trash on the Warriors next pod. So,
well, like and subscribe, and you'll find out.
Like and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.